This year marks the 150th anniversary of the University of Kansas. This exhibit here at the Spencer Library on campus takes a closer look at just how far KU has come since 1865, including the story of its very first graduating class of 4 students.
The people of Lawrence, when they first founded this city, that's what they wanted. They came into this city, they saw this big hill, and one of the first things they did was pitch a tent on the side of the hill and wrote Mount Oread on the side of the tent. And the man that did that was Eli Thayer, who was the architect that created KU's first building. But I do think that was their goal. When they came out here, it wasn't just to become a free state, it was also to create education and an educated city in Kansas.
There were around 50 students that arrived on that first day in September of 1866, but none of them were qualified to take college courses. There were no high schools in Kansas at that time, and so they hadn't had the preparatory experience to actually enroll as college students. And so the first graduating class was actually not until 1873. Flora Richardson was actually the valedictorian of that class, and she was also the first person to ever receive a diploma, college diploma from the University of Kansas. We have the records, the newspaper stories, so it was a momentous occasion not only for people here in Lawrence, it was a wonderful occasion statewide.
The campus has changed. I mean, in fact, if you look right now at the campus, you see all these beautiful trees and beautiful buildings and stuff. There wasn't one tree on this campus when school opened in 1866. Most of the trees we see here have been planted to make a beautiful campus, and that was one thing students have taken a part in from the beginning.
One of the things that they've changed a lot, but yet they haven't changed, are the students. Student life is an important part of what we try to document in the university archives.
When we talk about being a Jayhawk and we talk about walking down Jayhawk Boulevard and graduating and walking down the hill, there's something so special. And when you talk about why people love Kansas, people always talk about the people and the hard work.
I think the whole aspect of our history at KU is important to a lot of people. I am always seeing people saying, I had no idea we did that, had no idea that KU or somebody at KU had accomplished that.
I think the most exciting thing in the 150th year is we're still talking about where we can go. We're celebrating our history as well as talking about the new buildings on campus and the new schools and how our enrollment rates are growing and how we're helping the state of Kansas and everything where the university is going, and it's all because of what we've done in the past.
I think it encourages current students when they learn about what former students and former faculty have accomplished up here on the Hill. I think it really pushes them along and lets them set their goals even higher. I'm probably one of the few people that have a favorite chancellor, and that's Chancellor Snow. He was one of the chancellors at the end of the 1800s, but he hired James Naismith.
He was invited to come to KU, and he was actually hired as the professor of physical culture and chaplain.
He was working at the YMCA in Denver while he was getting his medical degree. Working with a student on a gymnastics routine, and the student fell wrong, broke his neck and died. And it really affected Naismith a lot. He'd go to that spot at the YMCA and pray daily for the student. It wasn't too long after that he was contacted by the university in Snow, and they offered him the position to come here, and he really believed that it was divine providence for him to come to the University of Kansas because he had been praying for direction, and this was the direction he was searching for. And so he then moved his family out here to Lawrence, and the rest is KU basketball history. But he did so much more besides just basketball here at KU. He was big in recreation overall. The what he did on campus was create recreation programs that we'd never had before, swimming and diving at Potter Lake. He built a golf course around Potter Lake, so students could learn that game also.
Football was a game that was played very early, and baseball. Baseball was actually the first sport that was played on campus, and one of the photographs that we're featuring of Old Fraser shows a very, very early baseball team playing. This was before we had a field, and they were just out on the lawn in front of Fraser, and it was students as well as faculty playing baseball in the 1880s.
I wish Snow Hall, the original Snow Hall, was still here, because that's where Naismith's first office was, where they first practiced basketball. The ceiling was so low, though, they lowered the floor to get to a 14-foot ceiling. That still must have been awful hard. And that is one of my pet peeves, is when I do watch sporting events, basketball, and they talk about Naismith being our only losing coach. He took boys that never played the game before, unlike today, and made them into basketball players in a place that was not devised to play basketball. They had support beams running down the middle of the court. Naismith even was the official of many of the games that he coached in, so he really couldn't do much coaching during the game.
The title that I chose, Achievement of a Dream, was intentional, because the first settlers to this region came with the ideal of building a college here. They started it even before Kansas became a state. I think the dream will continue, and that's given in one of the dedication speeches on that morning when the university was first dedicated, where they talk about our place in time and the fact that it's important to pause and reflect on where you are and where you're going to go. And I think that's where KU is today.
150 years of hard work and dedication by countless students and faculty has built KU into the university you see today. One can only imagine what the next 150 years will bring. I'm Jeannie Hodis, and I hope you've enjoyed this journey inside KU. For more information about visiting the 150th anniversary exhibit at Spencer Library, go to spencer.lib.ku.edu. You can also learn more at kuhistory.com.